Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to The Philosopher and the Fool.
The Fool and the Philosopher.
Broadcasting to you live from an alternate dimension where everything's the same, except we have slightly nicer hair.
Yes.
Your hair is looking lovely today, Connor.
Thank you, Cameron.
Yes. It's actually not. I'm just saying that because that's what we would say if we were in that dimension.
What are you talking about? I slept with it wet. That's how you get the nicest, floofiest hair possible.
So, got a lot in store to talk about today. I've got 10 things on my list, which is more than the 4 of last time, but none of them are seafood related, unfortunately.
I've got 3, which is 3 more than I didn't have last time.
I got a pencil.
Okay. You have a pencil. Ah!
What?
I don't like the sound of pencil scraping over paper.
That's what they're for.
Yeah. No, they're not for the sound. They're for the noting. Cameron, pencils are not an instrument. They are a notation device for recording ideas and thoughts and words and drawing. They aren't musical devices. There's not someone in a band with a pencil just scraping it over a piece of paper over and over and over again.
Could be. I think it's not nice.
What, like they just have it go on a loop track and then they maybe take out like a marker and go across a whiteboard and then maybe some chalk and like...
So, we're recording on my birthday today, which I didn't remember until I had to write down the date. One of my friends remembered. I don't know if anyone else did. Now, it's my birthday. I'm now an old man. I'm 486. Or I can't remember. Something around there.
Happy birthday.
Thank you. Yeah. I'm tired. I had a birthday party a couple days ago. And I haven't recovered yet. It was wild. We were up to like midnight. Then the power went out, and so I didn't know what time it was yesterday, so I went to bed late as well. So yeah.
The power went out, so you didn't know what time it was, so you didn't know when to go to bed?
Yeah.
Okay. I was wondering if the power went out last night or something, and so you didn't know
No,
what time it was.
I just didn't fix my clock.
Okay. Yeah, I spent all night reading because the power went out, and I couldn't tell if I should go to sleep yet. It was rather hard to read in the dark, though.
Yeah, it was bright out. Yeah. So I'm a little tired, so I apologize for the quality of my ideas if they're not up to the normal par of something.
200% awesome.
Yeah, 150 we'll go for. So I'd like to make a couple corrections from our last podcast. When I said isn't, I meant is. When I said no information, I meant decent. And when I said don't understand, I was correct.
What?
Just making some corrections.
Alright.
So, I'd like to talk today about roguelikes again. More. But first, I'm going to completely change topic.
And talk about the weather.
What? No. There's it turns out there is a Tumblr called Psychopath Society from last time, so we can resolve that. And their motto is, because the psychopath is better than no path at all, which I think is kind of funny.
Yeah. I'm not exactly sure what the group's about, though, beyond that. It just seems like a bunch of random images.
I think people just talking about being psychopaths and how edgy they are.
Yeah.
Probably.
I don't understand Tumblr.
It's...
Because there's some webcomics based in Tumblr that you have to, like, use Tumblr to read them. But... I don't understand. Is it a forum/blog site? Like you make blogs and forum with them? Or?
Yeah, well, it's kind of like, you ever heard of Weebly or something? Where you like make a website, host it on their site for free? Mm-hmm. It's kind of like that even. You make your own website. And a lot of people use it to blog.
Okay.
And some people use it to put on comics and to talk about all their deep ideas. And, because, there's a lot of 12-year-olds out there with groundbreaking ideas that are... I don't know. I'm going to counter myself.
I am 10 years old and this is deep?
Yeah, like that. But at the same time, I think there's a lot of deep ideas that 12-year-olds have out there. So I don't want to tease people or stomp on them because of... I don't think anyone under 18 should use the internet. But, no, wait. That's not where I was going with this.
But like those 12-year-olds are thinking about like the Mariana Trench and the Earth's core and the Earth's mantle. Yeah, very deep. Thinking about dwarves. You are listening to The Fool and the Philosopher.
Okay.
So you wanted to talk about the roguelikes, though.
Yes. Yeah, roguelikes. I want to talk about roguelikes.
Yeah, you've been playing a lot of roguelikes lately. You've gotten the iOS, or not iOS, but you've gotten a phone game that's a roguelike, and you've gotten more roguelikes. You're just living and breathing them right now, it seems.
Yeah, I'm getting into them. Like I said before that I had played NetHack, and I thought that Adam and Caves of Cud were more complicated in terms of UI and stuff, and I still stand by that. But, and I said I've played NetHack. I haven't played much. I've just played enough that I know how to control my character and stuff, and I thought, like, navigate the UI and all that. And yeah, but once you get into Adam and Caves of Cud, they've got some really cool stuff. And it turns out it is called Cud. So, yeah, I also have been playing a bit of WazHack on the iOS. You can also play that on the internet somewhere, I've heard. I don't know where. And so Adam, I said before I wasn't really getting into it. I now learned that that's because, and Caves of Cud has the same problem, because they both have an overworld, and they're trying to be all fancy with their overworld and give you quests and stuff. And apparently the whole point of the quest is so that you don't feel lost and you can get right into it. But instead what it does is it makes me feel totally lost and do boring stuff when I'd rather just be going down a staircase over and over again. So I found out the secret to playing Adam and having fun is you go straight for the skull-shaped cave. You ignore everything else. You don't go to the town, you don't talk to people, and you just go down. And that's how you do it. Adam, way better. There's cool stuff in that cave. All the other caves are boring. Like, I thought the killing the Dark Druid quest was okay, but then it's really long and, I don't know, the Druid was hard to fight compared to the rest of the cave, and it's just kind of, I don't know, feels a bit grindy. But if you go to the main place, you got potions, you got scrolls, you got all the good stuff that I wanted from it. Caves of Cud, same thing. You go straight to the Rust Wells or whatever they're called and go down. And I think Caves of Cud, they do it because they want you to have lots of different adventure potential, but they
put the onus on you for...
Well, no, they don't tell you where it is,
yeah.
So that's why they make the quest so that you go to these places directly. Yeah. Except I just found it boring to talk to people, and like I'm not one for lore so much, so and that's Caves of Cud's main appeal, which is good for them, but
it is.
Yeah.
Oh, I completely ignore the lore of that game. It's just boring.
Yeah. But once you get into them, and also Caves of Cud, another thing, they got tons of mutations, but you just focus on a couple and then you're okay. So yeah, once you just find a dungeon and start doing it, Caves of Cud is quite fun. There's a lot of cool stuff you can do. I was thinking about how I said Caves of Cud is like Dwarf Fortress, where you have all these interactions that you make and then you try to see what happens, and NetHack is the same, of course.
Yeah.
But I'm going to take that statement back, because Dwarf Fortress isn't like that. Because what Dwarf Fortress does instead is it's more of a physics engine.
Yeah.
So it'll be like NetHack will be like, all right, you throw your balsa wood shield in the water, now you can walk across the water on it because the shield floats.
Yeah.
Whereas in Dwarf Fortress, that's just how the game works. It doesn't have that as a specific event. It's just that floats. And I'm sure NetHack has that to some degree, and maybe Caves of Cud does, I don't know. But NetHack probably does, given how complex the game is. I'm sure they have a lot of tags, like, I haven't tried. Like, okay, I haven't played much NetHack. I think the farthest I've gotten is like floor 9 or something, which isn't very... There's 100 floors.
100 floors in NetHack.
Yeah. Well, I've gone to floor 9, so I haven't gone very far. But I'm sure you could probably do... Like, I found a mirror one time, and I bet if I'd held that up when a guy shot a magic missile at me or something, I would have hit him instead, bounced back. So there's... And I'm sure that they don't just make mirrors do that specifically. I'm sure there's like a shiny tag or something that they stick on polished shields and mirrors and all that. So, yeah. I wanted to take that back, what I said about Dwarf Fortress.
I have a quick question.
Yeah.
So in the Rogue games, and I don't know if Caves of Cud or Adam, but the MacGuffin, so in Rogue... The amulet you're trying to find.
Yeah, the Amulet of Yendor.
Yeah, and Amulet of Yendor.
Yeah. When
you find that, do you get like a score if you ever get to it, and you have a high score about how long till you complete, or?
Well, if you're finding it, you don't actually win.
You have to get out of the cave?
You have to leave the dungeon.
Okay, so you go down, you get the amulet, you come back up, and you get a high score or something?
Yeah, so you get a score in the same way you get a score normally.
It's a much better score?
Well, you have a modifier to your score, which is you only get 80% of your score if you die. So your score is reduced by an amount times 80%.
Also, go back up, I guess you need the amulet?
I think you can just leave,
Uh,
possibly. I'm not totally sure.
okay.
I think you can just give up.
But I suspect the amulet's like worth 1,000 points or something. Or
It'd be way more. But I haven't tried, actually. But also, every bit of wealth you carry, if you survive, also counts towards your score. So you get a much higher score if you survive.
Okay.
And giving up might give you a worse penalty than dying or something. I don't know. I don't know if you can give up, but I've never tried.
Okay.
Maybe I'll make a throwaway and try it.
Well, I just wonder about these games because, like, you're playing them for the game, obviously.
Yeah.
But there is also a goal.
Yeah.
Because you need a goal to drive a game a lot of the time, except for Minecraft, and certain games.
I think even in Minecraft you should have a goal, really. Just,
Yeah.
I think, like, I don't think I'm...
Give yourself a bit of direction.
Sort of. Like, I don't think I'm ever going to try to win NetHack,
Mm-hmm.
but I wouldn't... Like, I'm never going to try to win NetHack, I don't think, because it's just fun to play around in. But I don't think it would be as much fun if you couldn't win.
Yeah.
Because I think just the potential for winning is what sort of drives you on in some ways.
Yeah, I myself am not the biggest fan of roguelikes. Now, that being said, I do like rogue legacy games, where it has the rogue element, but there is the legacy.
Yeah, Total Biscuit called those roguelites.
Lights?
Yeah, roguelites, which I think is a pretty good name.
So there's the roguelikes, which is Caves of Cut, and then there's the roguelites, which is Rogue Legacy. And
yeah, I like that idea.
yeah, so I'm not the biggest fan, though, of
Dead Cells. We've been playing a lot of Dead Cells lately, too, which is fun.
Yeah.
A lot of fun.
Yeah, well, that's also Castlevania, which is my favorite genre of game, I think, or one of them. But yeah, so you've been playing these games, and you've been getting into NetHack, though.
Yeah, well, I've always been into NetHack, but I've never gotten that far because I couldn't figure out how to play for a while. And now I am figuring out how to play, and it's really cool. I think, like, just a little thing that I did was I shot a wand at a creature and it disappeared, and I was like, huh. And then I did again, oh, this is a wand of invisibility. And then so I shot myself with it. If it had been like a wand of disintegration or something, that would have been bad. Yeah. But yeah, shot myself with it, and then I was invisible, and then I was going around just taking stuff out because they couldn't see me. But then I eventually I killed a mummy, and I took its wrappings and wrapped it around myself, and then I could be seen again, because I was like the invisible man, I just like that little interaction. But yeah, so what I discovered, because I was saying how there's some roguelikes I really don't like Tome, and was there others that I came across? I've seen some that I didn't like the look of.
What's Tome?
Tales of Mal-Aj or something. It used to be called Tales of Middle-earth.
Yeah. And
then they changed it because they actually sell it now, so they don't have a license.
Ah.
But it's another roguelike focused a lot around tactics, and you have like cooldowns and abilities, kind of like MMO or something, with like 20 abilities. And there's a lot more monsters. You get attacked by like 20 at a time, and you don't have many potions.
So it's more combat focused and less the razzle dazzle of throwing a random potion than having spiders pour out that potion and eating the thing.
Yeah, there's not potions. There are potions and scrolls, but they're much rarer, and it's not so much about them being random and the crazy interactions. And so I was like, oh, okay, I don't like that one. And then I was like, and I was saying last time I like games more like Brogue and stuff where they have the random interaction. And I was saying Adam didn't have that, and I didn't like it. But it turns out that Adam does have that, and so does Caves of Cud. I just didn't even notice. Like the artifacts in Caves of Cud and the clubs you get are apparently actually rifles and grenades and stuff.
Oh.
So
clubs, you don't know they are because it's post-apocalyptic.
Yeah. But I learned that there are two types of rogue games. There are band games, and they're like band as in B-A-N-D, like an armband kind of thing. But it's actually short for egg band, which is the fortress of Melkor in Lord of the Rings. And then, well, in the Silmarillion. Yes. And then there are hack games, which are based on hack. So, hack games play like hack, and hack was all about crazy potions. Here's this scroll, and it has the weapons you start with. Like, let's say you're a knight, you start with a sword and a shield and some full plate armor. Yeah, that's going to be your armor. Yeah, it's like for the entire game, you're going to wear that armor. You're going to use that sword. You're going to use that shield. Basically, you might find a +1 sword that you'll switch out for. Yeah. You might get a cool shield of reflecting. Yeah. But basically, that's your armor. You might find like an adamantian sword or something, so it's unbreakable. But for the most part, you're not going to upgrade. Whereas, so hack is based on D&D. Yeah. Whereas band is more like I don't think it's based on Diablo, but Angband was more like Diablo, where you keep getting... You start with like a rusty dagger, and you work your way up to the tier 73 god sword of
you start
plus
with
86 fireballs.
It's Eggband, so it's Lord of the Ringsy or whatnot. So you start with a dagger, and then you go find the elven blade that glows blue, and orcs are around, and that's a pretty cool item to find. Then you get your mithril shirt.
But it has like a huge amount of tiers of weapons, and you'll keep finding better gear. And it's like you get skill. Like there's skills and powers and stuff in the hack games sometimes, but Angband is really about those.
Yeah. So I had a thought on this whole thing, whereas you're saying with these, I guess it's more of the both hack and band games, where you throw a potion and it's like, oh, it breaks and it freezes that person. That's pretty cool. That's just interaction. Potion breaks, freezes. Or you throw that potion, hits water, frees the water solid, you can walk across it. So with these interactions, I imagine a lot of the time the game dev has like programmed in this interaction causes this thing, or what this effect causes this thing. My question is about Dwarf Fortress. So you're saying it's a physics engine. So if something crazy happens in Dwarf Fortress, it's because of the physics engine. Like you have a potion of minus 200 degrees, let's say, and you throw it and it shatters. It's going to affect the world as if minus 200 degrees went off in a sphere.
Yeah.
So how close? I mean, there is the crazy magic and vampires and undead and various other things in Dwarf Fortress, but how close do you think it's gotten to actual real-world mechanics?
I think it's a long way off, because there's...
Like 1%?
I don't know if you can even measure it, because we don't know the real world mechanics. Like, if you go to, there's like that whole debate about string theory versus what's the other one? String theory, and then I can't remember. I don't know much about it, but there's we don't even know the basis of everything. So I would say that, and Dwarf Fortress is like doing a rough simulation of water that doesn't actually follow fluid physics. It has its own fluid physics, but they're not identical to ours. So I would say it's probably one of the best, but it's not anything near the real world.
But one thing that Dwarf Fortress has that I guess those games don't have is things can accidentally happen you weren't foreseen. Like my cats are dead and my tavern's full of throw up and blood.
Yeah,
like unforeseen.
Well, it wasn't blood. It was full of throw up and dead cats or something.
Yeah, but he didn't foresee that ever happening.
Yeah.
So random things can happen in Dwarf Fortress that can be kind of wild. Whereas in these hack games and whatever band games, I guess they have everything sort of.
Well, like I was saying, I don't know if they do.
Oh,
because I think something like. Because Dwarf Fortress is very easy to mod. So how you mod Dwarf Fortress, let's say I want to make a steel golem, and so I can say, okay, it's going to be, what you do is you do a series of tags. So you give it the humanoid tag, so it inherits all the characteristics of humanoids.
Yeah.
And then you give it like a shiny tag if that existed, so it'll reflect stuff like other shiny objects. And then you could give it a metal tag or an iron tag even, so then it'll interact like iron. So I imagine NetHack's similar, like an iron sort of reflection would be, or like
so it has tags basically.
And
Dwarf Fortress just has a lot of tags. Okay.
And like more interactions too that aren't just tags. But I would say that the NetHack games at least probably do that. I don't know about the band games because it's I imagine they do too, because just even a rusty sword, for example, they've never thought of like, oh, there's a rusty headband, what's that mean? But I would still say
like with I don't know how good these games are, but with Eggband or whatnot, if you're wearing a rusty chess piece and someone hits you with a club and it dents and like stabs you slightly or whatnot, they're just going to ignore that and you're just going to get hit by the club. Whereas in Dwarf Fortress, you're wearing a rusty chess piece and you get hit. The shards of the rusty chess piece might impale you and you could get tendinitis.
And I don't know if NetHack does that kind of thing. Because NetHack it's famous for like something the dev team thought of everything kind of thing. But that's within the rules of the game. So it's like you're not able to sing just randomly, as far as I'm aware. Maybe you can, but I don't think you can just sing randomly. Whereas in Dwarf Fortress, you can basically do what you can do in real life to a certain extent, but you shouldn't do it all the way. Like Dwarf Fortress, I don't think is going to either, because if you make it too accurate, then it becomes impossible to play because
because
there's too much.
There's not enough buttons
Yeah.
you can press unless you like get a giant splash screen. It's like, do you want to give them the middle finger? Do you want to just give them the peace sign? Like just hand gestures. There could be absurd amount, or you could go obscene gesture, peaceful gesture. But even then, that's a little much. So he's like, interact with this person, peaceful interact, absurd interact, or whatnot.
NetHack even has these like pound commands where you press the pound key and then you type in a word like pray or ride or something because they ran out of key letters.
Yeah, well, I know in what's it called, Dominions, there's the wish spell you can cast, and they basically made, I think, 30 different results that you could get from wish, and then there's some of them have like sub results, like you can wish for units or you could wish for a specific amount of units. So they came up with these 20 different results, and then what they did is they basically got a learning AI or something that just like puts synonyms to those words, and then tries to figure out every possible way that someone could construe wishing for power, or it's like, I want power, I want extra levels, I want whatnot.
Yeah.
So I mean, that's how their typing the wish thing works. Like there is only about 20 commands, but you can say over 1,000 different things.
That's how text-based games used to work, like Colossal Caverns and all that sort of Zork and all those. They would just have like synonym engines basically, and so you could say walk north, run north, wander north, or just north.
Scootily poop north.
Yeah, and like wish is actually, I think it's actually like I've never gotten to the point where I could use it in any game, but it's actually in a decent number of games. Like it's in Baldur's Gate, and it's in Dominions, like you said. It's in NetHack. It's probably in Angband. So it's kind of cool when people do it, but it's kind of random where you have to type it in and hope for the best.
Yeah, well, it's interesting that there's this webcomic I haven't read, but just the premise of it is, what if you got one wish that would complete it perfectly, like no limitations except for one, and that wish only you can use only one word for that whole wish. What would you say? And that's sort of the theme behind the webcomic.
And how is it interpreted, though?
I think that's part of the webcomic, is trying to figure out how the word would be interpreted. Like I said, I haven't delved into it.
Wishes. And then my next one would be words. And then
try a program. You try to program a better wish.
Yeah.
That feels a bit cheaty. Part of the theme it draws upon, I think, is the idea behind the Old Testament, where God said the word that was good, and it was good, or that he said, "Let there be light," so light.
And it was good.
Yeah, so it's like that wish thing might be part of the webcomic's creation story. Like I said, I haven't read it, but it definitely, I read a bit of the beginning and found it boring. But
what's it called?
Something like Lazarus's Wish, or whatever, the Demoness of Vampires. What's her name?
Demoness of Vampires?
Yeah, the Demon of Vampires. She calls vampires by giving them her blood. I
can take a guess, but I don't think it's like just based on what you said and what some. I'm guessing like if it's an L sound, like Lilith or something.
Yeah, it's like Lilith's wish or something. But it sounds like Lilith. It's not called Lilith's wish or Lilith's word.
Lilith.
Yeah, but it's close to. It looks like that.
I don't think Lilith is. Isn't that like? What is that? Is that it's related to demons for some reason.
Lilith is, I think, the demoness of like the leader of the succubuses and also vampires or something.
This seems. I don't think, because vampires are totally different. Like I think Lilith might be biblical, and
maybe.
I don't think vampires are. Well, I know they're not.
Yeah,
they're much more modern.
Well, she might be like give people demon blood or something.
That wouldn't be a standard. That would be something popular that popularized it then, because I don't think that would be
biblical.
Well, it's not biblical, but like even succubus
is Lilith word.
Okay, but like even succubi aren't biblical, I don't think.
Yeah, I'm very curious actually what she is meant to be, and She's from Jewish mythology. With all their fun things like the Behemoth and Leviathan.
Yeah, the Torah is way cooler than the Bible.
Yeah.
Just in terms of the cool things. I'm not picking sides.
She is often envisioned as a dangerous demon of the night. She is basically the original succubus.
Right. Okay. So
from Jewish mythology.
Yeah, so she's what a succubus would be based on.
Yeah.
Okay.
And she's a child stealer as well.
Because I think succubus I think it's just a word in Latin that means something like enticer or something.
Yeah. Okay, so one thought of it...
like enticing woman or something.
Yeah, so one thought of it, just quite quickly read there from Wikipedia, was saying when God first created Adam in this story and took his rib to create the first woman, his first attempt was actually Lilith, but she didn't like the garden, and so she left the garden, and then God took another one of Adam's ribs and created Eve. Or something, so she's like the first attempt, but she was too beautiful or something, or too perfect, and she challenged the whole idea of even being with him, and so she left.
I think I remember something about Lilith being the first in the Bible. It was like tickling the back of my head there. Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah, she's the first attempt, and she's like, forget this, and left the garden without ever eating the fruit. Yeah, that's what that is.
But
one word. So it's called Lilith's word. So it's like one word.
Yeah, that'd be tricky. Well, I guess like a simple one, something like regeneration or something.
Yeah.
But how does it get interpreted though?
I think in the best possible way for you.
Okay.
That's how I would. If it's the webcomic, it'd be the best. It would be one word for you. But probably the word would have your inflections of what you'd want it to be.
Well, would it be what you wanted? Would it be the worst possible? Would it be random? Or would it be the best possible? Because what you want and the best possible are different.
I think it's actually the best possible outcome for that wish.
Because then like something like regeneration, I think would be pretty solid.
Yeah, the whole world heals up. Oh. You say regeneration, all the plants go...
Or it's like something like... It makes like the nirvana a thing. So it's like you keep... reincarnating until you achieve perfection, like everyone on Earth does, or something, or you do. Or
I think a fairly straightforward one for that one word would be wealth.
That could be good.
But the best interpretation, you get wealth in the whole like having wealth, as in like, having good people around you, having a good life. Like that was the old interpretation of wealth before it was physical wealth, because there's wealth there was not wealth, but it's material wealth. Which is what we now construe wealth to be. Right. But then there was wealth.
Like having an army of people obey you.
Yeah, like a kingdom wealthy.
Yeah.
Or wealth as in, I'm a very wealthy person, and that can mean I have an awesome family and a huge group of friends that support me, and I have a good job.
You're well off.
Yeah.
Might even be related. Well off, wealth, sound kind of familiar. I wonder. Yeah, so, but if it's the best possible interpretation, I wonder if you could say like anything.
Yeah.
Like
chickens.
Now that's interesting, because I thought chicken as well. So I think that's not a very random word. There's actually
it is a round word. It's a 2-syllable word
with an emphasis on the second syllable.
Yeah,
which apparently is more common to think of quickly. So,
but also I was saying that because I was thinking of an object and a living object. Yes,
you just made the sound go haywire with your vibrating the floor.
Object and a living object. No, that's the intonations of voice.
Sure.
Yeah, but why I said chick, I don't know about you, but I had an actual design around it, which was
you get a basilisk mount.
Yeah, was saying a living random creature. So object and a creature. What would that do? Because if I said like I don't know, rock.
Yeah.
I get like a pile of rocks. Or if I said diamonds, a pile of diamonds.
Well, if you said rock, what if you got like a bunch of rocks that could make you immortal and fly and... Like,
yeah, I get the Philosopher's Stone if I say rock.
Krypton.
Yeah, if I say rock, I get the Philosopher's Stone.
Makes you Superman.
Yeah.
I think you could be pretty safe. Like, what could you say that'd be bad? Like, you'd be like...
Death.
And then it would like...
the best outcome. It's not for you, it's the best outcome.
It would like directly send you to heaven when you died.
Maybe.
You know, like you couldn't mess up with that. It'd be fun just to like milk crate.
Black hole. There we go.
No, it could. keep all the black holes away from you. It's a black hole shield.
I think it might be the best literal outcome, maybe.
Yeah, well, black hole, I'd be like, you want to be able to eat forever.
So what happens if you get Wish in Baldur's Gate, then? I'm curious. Do you type in, or do you
you
just...
type it in.
Okay.
As far as I'm aware.
I thought it just gave you a level up or something.
No. You can get, you can get an item or summon a monster or something. Or...
Can you increase your stat?
Possibly.
Can you, go 50 strength, and then have absolutely absurd character?
I think, how Wish works in D&D is it's kind of limited by the skill of your cleric.
And so also an interpretation of the DM.
So if you said 50 strength, I think you just hurt your cleric.
But
I'm not sure if you type it actually in Baldur's Gate.
Well, there's the Wish spell. Wish is a magic spell, not a cleric spell.
Okay, there if you're a wizard.
Yeah, but there's the weaker Wish spell, and then there's the True Wish, which you can cast once, and then you forget the spell. And so you have to learn the spell from a scroll or whatnot, and then you can cast it once.
10 Wish scrolls. Actually, I guess that would... Doesn't it lower your constitution or something?
Wish... True... There's a weaker Wish that I was talking about earlier, which loses your constitution. The True Wish doesn't.
Okay.
But I think there is a limit. You're not allowed for more wishes with True Wish.
Oh.
You are listening to The Fool and the Philosopher.
But roguelikes, eh?
Yeah, no, that's basically all I had to say about them. Was the dream.
There's more to them than you thought. Even the simpler feeling ones have more to them.
Yeah, but also... I don't like band type games, and I like hack type, so it makes it easier for me to look through them now. Because someone would be like, because band type games are much more tactical and about the fight and everything, which I don't want to do in a turn-based, really slow medium. I'd rather play Diablo or something.
So was Rogue a band or a hack, or was it a band hack?
I don't know.
Is there a roguelike called band hack?
I don't think so, but well, who knows?
There's
a lot of them out there.
If there isn't, come up with band hack and combine the two together.
Well, I don't know.
I feel like roguelikes can take a very long time to make, probably. You just have to keep pouring energy into them.
Well, they keep getting updated a lot.
Mm-hmm. That's what I'm saying, though. You keep pouring energy into your roguelike to get stuff out.
Yeah.
Or you just create a world engine and play Dwarf Fortress. Is Dwarf Fortress's adventure mode like a roguelike?
Kind of. It's a bit you're not trying to do anything.
And also, you can see your effects on the world.
You're just wandering around.
Yeah, but you can't you load up the world you've played adventure mode in and play fortress mode in?
Yep, and then you can keep doing the same world over and over. You can play adventure mode again after your old one retires or dies. You can retire your old one and then go and hire them, and they can join you.
Or you can retire your old one and then have him live in a fortress you play as, and then get his ancestors, and then you play adventure mode and you go and kidnap his ancestors. And
yeah, you could. The whole point of adventure mode, the whole original game that Tarn and Zach wanted to make, was you play Dwarf Fortress.
Yeah.
And then once you're done, you try or you lose. Then you take your dwarf. You take an adventurer and they explore the ruins of the fortress, and that's the adventure, and they would add random monsters and traps and stuff into it, and you'd go through.
I feel like a lot of people's first attempt,
and then your score would be based around how many artifacts you found in the old fortress.
I feel like a lot of people's first attempts at doing that would be as a dwarf that walks down into a cave that's maybe 1 or 2 levels deep that has a few rooms, and you find the mayor's bed and him dead in the corner with his writing book, and the tunnel's flooded.
Yeah,
because he tried to redirect a river into it to get water.
No, I didn't. I wasn't trying to get water. The only real good game I've had of Dwarf Fortress was I was going well, and then I wanted. I wanted to be able to fish while inside my fortress, so I dug into a lake underground so that I could fish from the lake. Yeah. Which, if you think about it, it's not the smartest move.
Yeah.
And it was actually an underground river, I think, so it kind of re-diverted through my fortress.
Yeah.
And everyone drowned. Which wasn't good, because I sealed off the door and everyone was in a room. And
so your adventurer comes along, dives down there, and finds a bunch of dead dwarves stuck by a door.
Yeah.
In Dwarf Fortress, can you have an elven fortress or a human fortress, or
no?
So you can only have dwarf fortresses, but you can play as elves and.
In adventure mode, yeah.
Yeah, and there is in Dwarf Fortress. Can you send your dwarves to existing city and then mine underneath it and then slowly take it over?
No.
No?
No. You can't start in a place that's already inhabited.
I'm not saying start, but you like start somewhere and then you like slowly burrow towards them. And
No,
then...
because you can't start in a square that is, and you can't leave your square once you've entered it.
But can you trade with those places?
Yeah.
Okay.
Recently, it's just getting to the point where your square has more interaction with the neighbors.
Okay. Well, I suspect eventually your dwarves will be able to go raiding.
It's like in RimWorld where once you choose your spot, you can't leave.
Well, you actually can.
You can now.
Yeah, and you can raid someone else's land and take it over and move there and live there, but then they'll try to recapture it from you.
Excuse me.
It's actually pretty fun.
But in Dwarf Fortress, you can't.
Okay.
Well, except you can settle new colonies now. That's the new thing. So. I don't know anymore. I haven't played Dwarf Fortress in ages, actually. So.
Yeah, who knows what happens now.
But I keep reading the updates. They're working right now on villains and their goals.
Oh, did they finish Magic?
No, this is before Magic. The villains want artifacts and stuff, so it's still the artifact stuff.
Okay, yeah. So, speaking of the roguelikes, and we talked about a bit earlier, though, Dead Cells.
Yeah, that's pretty
I wanted to talk about that a bit.
Yeah?
It's a very fun game, I find.
Yeah.
Like I said, I don't like roguelikes, but I guess I like roguelites. There's a bit of trouble finding the inflection. Yeah. But I like the legacy aspect of it, and I really like Metroidvanias. And so, I mean, if you haven't played it or heard about it, there's a lot of talking about it right now. But if you haven't, it's basically a game where you're trying to escape a dungeon and get off an island or something. Get off a prison island, I think.
Yeah, probably.
Yeah, and you go throughout it fighting monsters, and you get slowly more powerful as you go throughout it, and then you die and you lose all your stuff. Yeah. But you've leveled yourself up a bit, and then that leveling up sort of carries over to your next character. And but it's a Metroidvania, so it's a platformer which you go through and you get tons of abilities, and you don't get punished for using the abilities.
Yeah, and it's like the idea of Metroidvanias where you come back to areas you've been to before so you can climb again, except it's in the next run you do it. So you'll like find a amulet that'll let you create vines. That's the first one, so beyond that I don't want to spoil it, but you create vines and then you can climb to higher places.
Yeah.
And so in every playthrough after that you'll be able to do this, so you can access more and more areas the longer you play.
Yeah, and it just progresses like that with different items.
Yeah, and the combat is really solid. It's a brawler game. It's 2D brawler and a side-scrolling brawler, and the combat is really solid.
Well, the combat
feels really good.
The combat,
I don't even like brawlers, and I like this.
The combat follows the pillars of Montium or even Jackie Chan's fighting style. Why I'm saying like the solid fighting is each hit feels like even if it's like you're dealing slivers to the monster's health.
Yeah, they get knocked back.
Each hit thuds, and then you can like roll around, and you see the impact of each hit.
Yeah. Like, what I really appreciate is when I was fighting a boss, I had this great big sword that does a ton of damage, but it's really slow. And in most games, that would be kind of bad against a boss because the boss would just hit you. So I was like, okay, I'm going to try it. So I dodge rolled behind him, but he turned around and I didn't notice until I was already swinging, and I couldn't, I probably could have interrupted it, but I wasn't. And I hit the boss just as he was about to hit me, and he got stunned and it interrupted his hit. And then I rolled behind him, hit him again, and he couldn't, and I stun locked him, just rolling. And so the bosses are as affected by, like, even the traps that trap things as everything else, even though they fight like a normal boss where they're huge and powerful and do unusual abilities. Yeah. But you can still freeze them solid, and it's amazing.
There is a mechanic which I've figured out, which it actually persists in the Little Weak monsters, which is bosses, you can freeze them only a certain amount of times, and then they start getting resistance. Oh. If you spam effect any creature in the game, it starts gaining resistance. Oh. However, if you change up the effects, they lose the resistance to one thing and start becoming resistant to the other. So basically what you can do to a boss, fire's not the best example because fire makes them cold resistance anyways, but if you freeze them and then you poison them and then you freeze them, then you poison them.
Oh, that's cool.
Or you can change the effects back and forth.
Yeah, so the bosses are following the same rules as everyone else.
Yeah, but it's just the little monsters, you freeze them once and then you can kill them. Yeah. Whereas the boss you have to freeze over and over again. That's the nice thing. The monsters have an equal chance of beating you as well, which is a part of brawlers.
Yeah, a single monster can beat you no matter what, basically. Yeah. And what I really like, because I don't like boss fights generally, because the idea of boss fights is they're supposed to be something where it puts you to the test of everything you've learned about the game. Like you have to do everything. Like, how good are your skills now that you've learned your dodge rolling and your sword swinging and all this? Like, put this to the test. But then the bosses follow totally different rules. Even Metroid has this problem where you shoot the boss 500 times in its belly and it's like ding, 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 ding. And you're like, okay, is that doing anything? It's just kind of vibrating. I don't know.
Yeah. It's not actually getting hurt. Well,
it is getting hurt. It just doesn't feel like it.
There's two different processes of bosses. The one you talked about, which is the putting all your skills to the test.
Yeah.
Then actually in Metroid is bosses are puzzles. So, and that's the Legend of Zelda approach as well. So there's the puzzle boss, which is immune to everything but one specific attack. And then there's the boss, which is put all your skills to the test, which I think is sort of Dark Souls, maybe? Partly?
Yeah.
And also...
yeah, I'd say Dark Souls does that.
And also Dead Cells has this. Whereas a lot of people go, oh, Legend of Zelda is famous for its boss fights. But we want a boss fight that's also like these other games that put all your skills to this. So we'll combine the two aspects together. And instead of getting the good things of both, you get the bad things of both. Which is the boss can only be hurt by a certain amount type of attack or whatnot. And it's still a horrible monster that's not a puzzle to solve. Or it's immune to all the things you've learned except for basic fighting.
Yeah.
So I think that's the problem with bosses is people combine the two aspects of a puzzle boss with a whatnot boss. I really don't like bosses that are immune to things.
Yeah, unless it's like they can be immune to like ice or something if they're made of ice.
Yeah, like it's thematic or whatnot.
But you'll often come across bosses that are immune to everything.
Yeah, or they have a resistance. I'm fine if they have a resistance, but downright like nope, you can't put the boss to sleep. It's like I have a sleep wizard. All he does is put things to sleep. He has 20 different spells for sleeping, and then once he has them asleep, he uses Dream Eater.
Yeah.
Or whatnot.
Yeah, and I think Diablo sort of has that. I don't know. The Diablo, I think it's been a long time since I played, but I think it does have that problem a little bit where the bosses are immune to most things. Well, but it's been a while, so I can't.
Also, I wouldn't know because I played the Druid, and the Druid just summons monsters to help him fight.
Yeah. At least you're allowed to summon the things to help.
Yeah. Well, except the boss just kills them in one hit, and you run out of mana, and bosses have piercing attacks a lot of the time. A big thing about
you're allowed to, what I do like about Diablo 2 anyways is you're allowed to create the summon portals the town portals during combat and then come back.
Yeah.
So I like that.
Yeah. No, that's good.
Although I think that might heal it. I can't remember.
Yeah, it comes back to life, and Baal, I remember reading about Baal in Diablo or whatnot, the actual final boss.
Yeah.
If you try to
Mephistos.
Yeah.
Mephisto. I can't pronounce it. Yeah.
If you try to teleport with Down Scroll Portal, you teleport into one of his bone cages that he summons onto the battlefield instead.
Yeah. Well, that's interesting though. Instead of that's like his thing.
Yeah,
which
it's his purpose thing. Like you can't Town's portal out.
Well, yeah, he changes how your ability works, which I think is okay. But like if you have something like you have a 10% to kill anything with this sword, let's say. You have to be very careful giving that to me because if it doesn't work on a boss, I'll be kind of disappointed. Yeah. Although not entirely because I can sort of understand in that case, but still.
Still. Well,
a little bit.
I think another thing that probably caused the boss fights the way they are in video games, let's think about this, is World of Warcraft.
Yeah.
Where to do a boss fight in World of Warcraft, you couldn't do them by yourself a lot of the time. Like the raid bosses, like you need 40 people to do a raid boss and you all need to be doing optimal things. And you're throwing, and you want to get these effects on him, but the cooldowns on your effects are so long that he can basically shrug them off a lot of the time because maybe he goes through them or has resistance or whatnot.
Yeah.
But I think that's probably one of the causes of certain boss fights as well is World of Warcraft. Is their massive, impossible bosses of you just need so much to take them down. Then someone's like, ooh, I remember doing raiding, and now I'm making a computer game. I want a boss that feels like raiding, but there's only one player, so I'm just going to make him immune to all effects.
Oh, okay. Yeah, maybe.
So he feels impossibly monstrous.
That could be, yeah.
You'll be listening to Fool and the Philosopher.
So, moving to a slightly different topic. It's related to Dwarf Fortress again.
Yeah.
I was Unless you have more to add about the
Dead Cells and all that.
Dead Cells. Yeah.
Yeah, well, I just want to finish off, I guess, with that. I think it did it really well. The gameplay, people say it can be repetitive, but I think they're just not used to Metroidvanias, those are repetitive gameplay.
I would say, though, that just because Metroidvanias are normally repetitive, that doesn't excuse them from being repetitive.
Yeah, it doesn't excuse them, but that is one thing that it actually does break up the repetitiveness, though, by having the branching paths you can go through. Like, that helps. And unlocking new abilities helps. But yeah, it is a bit repetitive, but the boss fights, it did really well.
Really so. It's a repetitive game.
Yeah, I'm really sorry. No, it is a great game.
I haven't found it repetitive at all. I haven't played it nearly as much as you.
Yeah, well, I don't find that's what other people say is it can be repetitive.
Right.
I don't find it repetitive, but I put several, like 60 hours into other games.
Oh,
and stuff.
I thought you meant this one. I was like, what?
Yeah, no.
We've had it for like 2 days.
I've put a lot of time into Metroidvanias.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm not a fan. I think, like, Ori and the Blind Forest, it's like, I finished it in a single sitting, I think. Mm-hmm. Which, I'm not saying it's short. I had a lot of free time. Mm-hmm. But that's a Metroidvania, and I didn't find it repetitive. I just went and played. It was pretty good. Yeah. But yeah, that's like 5 to 20 hours, I think.
It does the boss fights right, which I haven't seen in a very long time with video games.
Yeah, I don't know if I've ever seen it like this. I like it a lot. I don't like boss fights normally, but this one I actually like them. Mm-hmm. That said, well, I don't like them, but I'm willing to fight them. They still freak me out, but that's okay. Because then it makes winning like, yeah! Mm-hmm. Yeah, I've only made it to the second boss and I can't beat him, so... I've only fought him once, so maybe the second time I'll do better. Mm-hmm. And decent amount of skill. I found the game gets easier even without... I mean, like, a lot of games should, but even without any better items or
Cameron,
anything.
it's like the Hulk video game.
There's a Hulk video game?
The Hulk video game was a game... They did it so wrong, it's painful. So in the game, you're playing Hulk, and it was meant to be a game that's really hard, and you're supposed to get better at as you play it. But the devs like, oh, this takes too long. So they had the brilliant idea that the longer the game runs, the easier it gets. And it's not you're getting more skilled. The game literally gets easier. It gets less difficult the longer you play. And it's not because you're getting upgrades that help you play the game or anything. It's just...
It's kind of thematic for Hulk.
I know, but that annoyed a lot of people because they felt like this was a game, like, I don't know, Dark Souls slightly, where it's like, I've gotten to this point through skill. And it's like, actually, no, the game just gets easier. And so that really annoyed a lot of people.
Yeah, so moving to Dwarf Fortress, what I was talking about. Yeah. So I was thinking about Dwarf Fortress and how people love talking about it. And they're like, oh, this is so... Like, the interactions are crazy. There's millions of them. It's like... Who knows what's going to happen, and that's why I like the NetHack games and so to some extent, and all that. So I would think that's why board games are becoming so popular as well. Mm-hmm. And it's not because board games have very limited mechanics; they're very stripped down.
But you interact with other people.
Which means that a game like Monopoly is equivalent to Dwarf Fortress in terms of the amount of interactions you can have.
Well, maybe not Monopoly.
No, I'd say Monopoly because there's people there.
I guess
they can do anything.
Yeah, they can flip over the board. They can cheat. They can steal.
Or just you can just talk. You can laugh. You can be like, all right, I'm going to do this. You can talk about it as if, oh, I'm a big banker. I'm going to do.
Yeah.
So I think that's why board games are getting popular, and also why board games being popular doesn't mean that making a video game of a board game will be popular, because it's the interaction with people in person, where you can. See the permutations of even their body language and their facial expressions.
Well, I just had an interesting thought on that. Well, I don't know how true this is, but a lot of people are like, oh, people use cell phones and they just don't disconnect anymore. Like that sort of theme.
They don't disconnect? Oh, disconnect from technology?
Yeah. So everyone's interacting with their cell phones, and that might just be because cell phones are a superior form of communication.
To...
talking with other people. I don't know.
Oh, I don't think so at all.
Might be addiction or something. But what a board game does is it forces you to put down the cell phone, because if you miss a moment, then you might not do well at the game. And so you're like connecting with the people and you have to be around. That's why I think the board game renaissance, partly because board games are getting better, But I think the board game renaissance that's going on right now is partly why people like them so much again, is because it's like forced interaction almost.
Yeah, I think that there's probably something to that. That said, I've seen people use a cell phone during a board game, and it ruins the experience for everyone.
Yeah.
They are... It's the same thing, like, if you're even if you're playing, like, if you're just hanging out with someone that uses a cell phone, they are not engaged 100% with you. And so their mind isn't on the situation, so they might miss stuff, they might not see all the cues, so it's just going to be, like, quiet. And it's also insulting in some ways, because they're not they think you're not interested enough for their attention.
Yeah, no, I have a friend who I think is a bit addicted to Reddit or something, and sometimes interacting with him, he's just on his phone talking with us, like, oh, yeah. It's like, why are we even here? Like, why am I even talking with you?
Yeah, why don't I just leave you to look at Reddit?
That's what it's felt like. 'Cause I seriously sometimes feel... Actually, it's with several of my friends. One of them's really good about it, but several other ones, it's just like, seriously, why am I even here? Like,
I make a rule to, unless there's something important I have to do, like tell someone where I'm going to be, to just not have my cell phone out at all when I'm with my friends.
Yeah.
Because I'm there with them. If I want to talk to people on Facebook, then I should hang out with those people instead.
Yeah, no, it's... I find
it cheapens the experience.
Yeah, I've at first, like, I was interacting with one person, and I was like, oh, wow, she uses her phone a lot. And I rarely hang out with this person. Yeah. I was like, she uses her phone quite a bit. And she's interacting with all these other people. It feels like, kind of like, it's why we were even interacting at the moment was our team, like her sports event at our school. Yeah. That was a competition with the school. We won. And so we got like a bunch of money to, like, we had $100 or something to go get food at Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
And we had to cough up like an extra $50 in between us because $100 isn't enough to get food for 8 people at Boston Pizza.
Boston Pizza is expensive.
Yeah, anyway, so we're eating there. And we're all talking and having a pretty fun time.
My great uncle owns a Boston Pizza.
Yeah.
Used to.
Yeah. But we're all talking, having a pretty good time. And then it's like looking at her, she's just on her phone. And it's like, okay, this is meant to be like our team celebrating, talking about like this stuff and just having a fun sort of hurrah thing of like, hey, remember high school?
Yeah.
And she's on her phone. It's just like, But then I've noticed that with my other friends too sometimes.
Yeah. What you're saying about cell phones being superior, I don't think so. Because it's so much harder to communicate over a cell phone. First of all, there's...
Well, why I was saying superior is I was just... The whole evolution thing by what's-his-face? The guy who had the finches.
Darwin?
Yeah, Darwin. I was about to say Atticus Finch because his name's Finch. But Darwin is, I was thinking, like, maybe it's the Darwinian evolution of communication, which is cell phones are winning.
Yeah, well, they have the advantage of distance, but they're missing out on tons of visual cues.
Yeah.
And which are huge. Like, that's a huge... You can't... Also, they're missing on tactile sensations. You can't touch someone. You can't... Or anything. You can't, like, even, like, throw a fake punch or something. So the visual's gone, the touching is gone, the scent is gone. If that might be a positive depending on the person.
Yeah. Or a huge negative.
It's got a range. But it also is missing... Well, like, you can say a sentence that's something like, you're dead to me. And you can say, like, dead tone, but like, the situation, your body language, your expression, it's a joke. Or it can be very serious. But if you're on the phone, you have no clue.
Yeah.
I mean, you can guess the positive is normally going to be correct, so they're probably joking.
You're dead to me, laughing emoji, clapping emoji, crying emoji.
Well, if you're talking on the phone, you can just say, like, haha. You don't have to...
I'm talking about texting.
Yeah. Well, I'm talking just talking on the phone.
Okay, yeah.
But not only that, phones, because phone companies aren't made of infinite money, just a lot of money, and because there's only so much size that servers can hold and everything, they cut out a huge range of sound. So you're actually hearing a very flat sound of version of a person's voice.
Well, that's interesting. Discord, I noticed, is superior to talking to people on phones.
Yeah, it has higher quality, I think.
Yeah.
And even then, it's not as good in person, I imagine.
Yeah.
And there's a... Yeah, it's just... what was the other thing? The sound matters for... I can't remember. Anyway.
Yeah, but so board games force... Or not... They make you a captive audience. And you're like, we're going to play a board game. So people are like, we're going to play a board game. We're putting down our phones. Playing a board game. We're interacting.
Yeah, I guess... So that would be a positive. But I also think just the whole... There's infinite like interactions. So
Yeah.
you get like a crazy Dwarf Fortress experience.
Yeah.
Like, oh, we were playing Monopoly one time. I got 3 6s in a row. Everyone was screaming. They're like, "How are you doing that?" And I was like, and then I bought Boardwalk and Parker Brothers, and then someone couldn't, and then someone landed on it, and I had a hotel on it, and so they had to give me 3 of their places to pay off the debt, and then. And it's like, oh, it's great. You should have seen Mike's face there. He was looking like, oh,
Yeah, he was
and
looking
oh,
shocked.
and Jeff, he was all like, I've no,
Mm-hmm.
and it was
Yeah, there's the multiplicity of possibility, but that's just because human interaction has the...
no. So Dwarf Fortress, I think you're like, wow, this is so cool, but it's and Dwarf Fortress is a game where it comes close, but still,
Yeah.
it's not. And that said, like, it doesn't have to be a board game that for human interaction. Like, I went fishing with Dave, and that's better than Dwarf Fortress kind of thing.
Yeah.
That said, I'm not saying Dwarf Fortress is bad or anything. I'm just saying that I was thinking about the idea of
People
interaction, millions of interactions, which make it interesting.
Yeah.
Dwarf Fortress.
Variety and...
Yeah, so Dwarf Fortress tries to come close, but just basic. Like, you could be painting a house with someone, and it's like...
Well, like, painting a house, you could flick the paint at them, and it's a calculated thing to see what the reaction is. Like, you flick the paint, and you think they can have several different actions, and you want to see which one happens.
No, I'm not... No, that's not what I'm saying.
That's what I'm saying.
That's totally not what I'm saying. No, I'm not saying you should treat life like a video game.
I am.
And just go crazy. That said, I don't know if other people feel bad in video games doing bad stuff, but I do. I don't steal and stuff because I feel bad. Like, that's not even playing, what's that game? This War of Mine, where everyone's like cries when you steal from them.
Yeah.
This is like just like...
GTA.
Yeah, like GTA, I'll be... Like, I feel bad in GTA if I hit someone. I'm like, oh,
Yeah.
I'm going to pay off that car debt, and like... They
There's
just got it for their 18th graduation. Their parents aren't very rich, but they just scraped it together, took it on a debt they're not telling their kid about, but they'll think they'll pay it off. That's okay. Then the kid needs the car to get to university, and they're going to be the one that gets out of this town. And then you hit the car, and they don't have insurance, and it's awful.
Yeah, well, yeah, I had an interesting interaction with my friends, which is we used to do this thing, which is like the 3 of us would get together and we'd play GTA, except only one person owned the game, and so we'd play basically like passing the controller back and forth.
Yeah.
So basically, whenever someone died, the other person would get to take over.
Yeah.
And like I think the goal or something was like do spectacular, ridiculous things until you died.
Yeah.
But I would do something to drive them nuts, which was to follow the road laws to the letter, and my goal was to follow the road laws. And that would have 2 results. One, it would ensure...
Nobody got to play.
Yeah, it ensured my survival for a long time, which was rather selfish of me. And 2, they found it really boring to watch.
Yeah, no, you have to kind of... When you're in a situation like that, the polite thing to do is to, like, shoot a police officer to...
Well, actually...
Title of the video.
No.
The polite thing to do is shoot a police officer.
No.
But you see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, you want to try to, like, okay, I'm going to try to jump across this train while it's going by.
Yeah, well,
because you don't try to kill yourself, but you try to do something that could result.
High risk, high reward.
Yeah.
Although we had an interesting situation where we actually had the goal to get arrested in GTA.
Yeah.
It turns out it is really bad to get arrested in GTA. Like, compared to getting...
You lose a lot of money.
You lose your money, you lose all your ammo. It's really bad compared to just going to the hospital, because you get to keep your ammo and you get to keep a lot of your money.
Yeah.
It's kind of... The amount of effort you have to put into getting arrested in GTA is pretty high, because those police are insane. I actually, at one point, though, talked about the interesting thing. My friends really didn't like the idea. I'm not sure what part they didn't like about, but the Ring of Gaiji.
Yep.
I talked about that in GTA. And I tried to discuss with them that maybe GTA is a reflection of the Ring of Gaiji.
Yeah.
I don't know if they were lashing out and disagreeing because they generally disagreed. They're like, no, I'm not like that. No, I'm not like that. And they're actually like horrified by it. Yeah. Or they disagree. I suspect it's more they just disagree with me. Or the suggestion. I don't totally agree with that. But the whole process of Ring Gaiji in video games, especially one like GTA.
Yeah, well, I think...
You go into GTA with the expectations to be horrible, I think.
Yeah, well, there's a lot of...
What the Ring of Gaijis is... for those who don't know.
It's a ring that makes you invincible.
Invisible.
Invisible. That's what
Yep.
I pronounced it wrong. Invisible.
And basically, it's a story. A philosopher talks about, I think, if you got that, you would be a horrible person.
Yes.
Because you would have no accountability.
I think it was Plato.
Yeah, you'd
Possibly
have
Socrates, but I think it was Plato.
Yeah, you'd have no accountability, and so he
just started stealing everything.
Yeah, he wrote a short story about this really horrible person with it.
Yeah, well, he wasn't a horrible person. He was an ordinary guy.
Yeah.
But he puts on this ring, and all of a sudden he steals and he kills, and because he has this rival that's causing troubles or something. So he kills him because he can't see him. So he just sneaks up to him and slits his throat.
And no one knows it's him.
Yeah, and he can steal whatever he wants. And so he says, if you had this ring, you would just. And so that's why in the Lord of the Rings, the Hobbit's ring makes you invisible, and it's the ring of infinite power and corruption. It's based on that same ring.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and that's the corruption of the ring, is the being invisible and can get away with anything.
Ah.
Except it's actually a literal, like, mental corruption that is magical instead of just psychological. I was something going back to the ring and GTA. Yes, so there's a lot of press, like GTA used to get in trouble for, like, you can like kill a prostitute, and this game encourages you to kill a prostitute, or this game has like, or it'll be like a book and it'll be like, oh, Batman, look, he's got this skin tight clothing. Well, that's not very proper, is it? And it's just objectifying men, or it's just this muscle guy and this, but or women or whatever. But the thing is, people want to consume it. So, like, if people don't like it, they don't have to buy it, and then it won't exist. But the fact that people like it, it's not real life.
Yeah.
Actually, tying back to NetHack, there's this mantra called NetHack is not real life, which is like, yeah, so I did this terrible, horrible thing where I, like, tore out a guy's guts and strangled him with it while his child watched, and then I enslaved his child, and this, you're a monster. It's like, no, NetHack's not real life. I was just seeing what I could do, sort of thing, which I don't know if you can do that in NetHack. I'm just saying.
Yeah.
But, so... that would be pretty awful, though. You might have problems if you do that. I don't know. But in RimWorld, you might chop up your people and feed them to your colonists, because that's...
Or you might harvest their organs to sell them later.
Yeah, because that's the best move.
Yeah.
RimWorld sticks you in some pretty nasty situations.
Yeah.
So, what I'm getting to this, and especially with, like, superhero comics and stuff, is that it's fun. It's not the world. Of course, it would be terrible to, like, walk around ogling people or killing them or stealing from them. But this is... Okay, now, if I said it's fun, now the next thing is, you think this is fun? So that would... to that, I say, you're right, I'm a terrible person. I can't think of a counter-argument.
It's not real.
It's freedom. It's just playing around.
But it's sandbox mode.
So why are we so restricted then? Why is that fun?
Why do we live restricted? Because it's more fun overall. Because having interactions, living a life where people like you is more fun. But you can't have in a video game.
Yeah, but why do we find, like, stealing and doing these crazy, horrible things in a video game? I think it's like dark comedy, actually.
Yeah.
It's like, this is so ridiculous. You couldn't do this.
Yeah, well, I mean,
think
great example of that is Saints Row. Like the older games of Saints Row, those are so...
Yeah. I actually find it so absurd it's not even fun. I would almost, like, I think GTA is a better balance for me.
Well, that's the newest Saints Row, I think. Like, the
maybe
older ones are better, I think.
I don't know. I haven't.
Yeah.
But, what was... so... I bet... Oh, yeah, I was going to say, I bet, like, if you had a Mongol... horse warrior back in, like, Genghis Khan's times, and you're like, hey, play GTA, this game's insane, you can, like, kill innocent people and stuff. This is boring. Like, well, this is like every day. What's this? So I think what's interesting and fun about the superheroes and the skimpy outfits and stuff, and the killing the people or the running over children in a bus, a school bus or whatever, is that it's it's like gallows humor. It's like, this is horrible. Why am I doing it? Like, it's that laugh, because a laugh is like nervous energy almost. So it's like, what am I doing? This is crazy.
There's actually a very interesting thing.
That said, I don't actually like running over children's school buses.
Well, going back to GTA,
yeah,
and going back even to Skyrim, there's an interesting thing those games do, which is even the game that is meant to have anything has limitations.
It punishes you for it.
Well, there's also limitations. Children do not spawn in GTA.
Yeah.
Children in Skyrim are invincible.
Yeah.
You can kill anyone in Skyrim but children and essential NPCs.
I don't actually like that in Skyrim, honestly.
But it's because even the game creators have limits to what they are willing to do. This is their they don't want that in their media. They have a limit that they are.
No, that's very fair for them. And I don't know why. I think it's just the limitations feel weird. Because it's like if you couldn't kill any good guy in Skyrim, I'd be like, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
Like you in Dungeon Lords, it's like that. You can't kill good guys.
They're absolutely invincible.
But in Skyrim, you can unless they're children. So it's a bit of a weird sort of dichotomy. I don't know what in Divinity Original Sin are children invincible or not.
They are not invincible, but they don't have turn timers. They have infinite actions, and so if you enter combat with them, they can run away, and you can't chase them because you're in turn-based mode and the whole town's fighting you.
No, really?
Yeah, so it has its own little punishment balancement to children, which is they aren't in turn-based
Right, so if you
combat.
accidentally fireball one, they'd run away.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
And then the town will attack you.
Yeah,
and also, they're really, really tough.
Right. Yeah, I think something like that would be... Oh, then... I guess that's why they make them just invincible in Skyrim, because then the challenge becomes to kill children, which is kind of awful.
In Baldur's Gate, you attack someone...
And then the flaming fist arrives.
Well, that's only Candlekeep.
We serve the flaming fist.
Yeah, you kill a good person, and then it has real-world consequences, like the police showing up in GTA, except the police are invincible.
They're not actually invincible. They're just very strong.
I know, but like an example is in GTA, you break the law, and then the priests all show up in tanks. And
I think that's why I don't like Saints Row, because the police are just wimpy. Like, well, I mean, I was playing on an account where I was like had all the powers, so maybe that was the problem. But in GTA, because I think not only being punished, I don't know if that's even the good part. The good part is you're doing all this crazy stuff, but you have to earn it. Like you can't just do it because there's these police after you, so you have to do it in the right way. And
also, video games, I think partly, even GTA, it's partly the challenge because, like, maybe you want to have the experience of driving a car through traffic ridiculously.
Yeah.
But the consequences are too great for you.
Well, see, my argument is that's not the case.
Well, no, I'm saying, like, the partly consequences are too great. Also, like, it's morally wrong. But you want to see, like...
No, I'm saying... That's what I'm saying. I don't think that's the case.
Well, what I'm trying to say is... let's say you want to drive a vehicle at oncoming moving blocks. Managing this world would be really, really difficult. But in GTA, you can get into a car and drive and do a jump and get to experience that thing. Like, you can have these challenges you set up. You can do these things that you physically are impossible for you to do, or they're just these extra challenges.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying is the argument against these games and why people call them terrible is because, like, why do you have these impulses then? You're just a bad person or you're insane. It's unhealthy. You shouldn't have these impulses. We shouldn't allow these impulses to exist. But I'm saying I don't think that those impulses are even the case. Well, maybe they are, but my argument is, and whether or not it's correct, is that the impulses aren't the case. It's the ridiculousness of it. Now,
I'm saying it's partly also the challenge because people like challenges and they just like games.
So the challenge of like running down people in your car?
Well, I think it's more the challenge of getting away from the police after you've done that. Because I wouldn't like a game. So it's I like in GTA, I wouldn't do that on purpose. In like if there was no police in GTA, like I don't think you'd ever run over someone. Yeah, because it's like, oh, okay. It's more of like, hey, police, come after me.
Yeah, it's like hide and seek or something.
Yeah,
I think like if you look at a game like Pandemic or something like that, where it's about killing off the world's population. Nobody wants to do that.
Yeah, but it's a challenge.
It's a challenge, and it's the same sort of like dark. What am I doing?
Yeah.
So I think
it's like, I've caused a bunch of lungs to rupture.
So so the sort of idea of, so I think games are disassociated from the players. Yeah. It's not like the idea, and I don't know if this dream idea is right here that we talked about last time, where what you do in dreams is what you would do in real life.
Foucault.
Was that Foucault?
Yep. Huh. I looked it up.
Yeah. I don't know if that's... I don't think video games are like that. Like, for example, Dead Cells, bringing that back. If it turned out I was immortal and had just come back to life and reanimated a rotten corpse, well, actually, maybe I would try to escape my prison. But I wouldn't go on, if let's say I wasn't in a prison, I wouldn't go on a killing spree and like do all, like, I would just like, hey, I'm immortal, I'm gonna go do cool stuff. But it's a fun challenge. So I think what it is, I think video games are actually puzzles with pretty graphics. I think our mom actually said video games are all spreadsheets. They just have different like graphic sessions. I was like, no, they're not.
Some of them are.
Okay, fine.
Some of them are spreadsheets.
Well, the turn-based ones all are.
Yeah.
But I think the real-time ones not necessarily.
Yeah.
Depends how you look at it. But yeah, the sort of. I was playing Age of Wonders, and she was like, oh, "This is just a spreadsheet that once you see one, you see them all." But it's, I guess,
Yeah.
but it's got pretty graphics. And I think so. I think there's a part of your imagination that's getting taken. So it's not just an abstract puzzle, but there's a line.
There's also the story you create. There's
Oh, the interesting thing would actually
you do create a story, like especially GTA or whatnot.
Yeah,
you create the story of a villain.
Yeah, that's a good
and
point.
people like stories. Like you read a book about like a sneak thief. You aren't a sneak thief, but it's interesting to have that story of the sneak thief. Then you play a video game where you're a sneak thief.
Yeah.
You won't be a sneak thief, but you have that story.
Yeah.
Sneak thief.
Sneak thief. Yeah, no, and then I think there's the so this is an interesting one. I made a board game a while back. You've played it. I want to play it more actually. It was based on Great Western Trail slightly, and the idea of the game is
The Great what?
Western Trail.
Ah.
So the idea of the game is you're trying to bring, and I won't exactly say it, so I can say this in the right order. You're trying to bring a shipment to the north of a place, and then you go back to the south, and you're like part of a gang, and you keep trying to bring shipments to make money and buy favors so that you become the greatest like gangster and you make your mom proud is the goal of the game.
Yeah.
So when I originally made the game, the shipment was slaves.
Yeah.
And you'd have to pick them up and gather them from
Villages
homes and
along the
villages
way.
and sell them to the people at the end. And everyone I played with didn't like it.
Yeah.
And they were, this is just awful. Like, what is this? And after I thought about it for a bit, I was like, kind of is.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying like, yeah, so it was sort of, so then I changed the game. And why I did that was I wanted to invoke the sort of dark humor thing, like, oh, I'm selling slaves sort of thing. But then I was like, no, this isn't working because...
You
and
didn't have the option not to.
And yeah, and also it wasn't, I didn't want it to be about slaves. What I wanted was the idea of this like corrupt, crazy thing where it's like, it's for the gang, for your mum. You're making your mum proud by doing this immoral thing. But, so I changed them to prisoners, and all of a sudden the game worked.
Yeah.
Because all of a sudden it's like, oh, I'm just delivering these prisoners. I'm a law-abiding citizen, and I'm gathering up prisoners from these towns and selling them off for money. Wait, what am I actually doing? And so that way it's a lot more like, wait a minute, what am I doing? Oh boy, this is great. And I think the slave thing was a really bad choice.
Yeah, you have the option of interpretation of your own story.
Yeah.
Because you could just be a lawman. The society is you're bidding off prisoners to different prisons where they can have like different situations. Whereas it's like, no, it's slaves. It has to be slaves. That's kind of like horrid. Whereas this thing's like, these are hardened criminals that I am bringing to the more secure prisons, and they give me money for doing so.
And also, we're not Americans, so our association with slavery is not a thing of racism, or at least for me it isn't. I'm a much more historical buff, so I was so that wasn't the horrible thing. The horrible thing was the idea of like forced labor or something.
Yeah.
So they were in my mind prisoners from the get-go, which I called slaves. So it'd be more like like a chain gang in like the West, where like, or it would be like the Romans capturing people. That
it's a thing that happened historically as a game based around the historical idea.
Well, it wasn't based on the history, but it was based around the idea of prisoners being indebted laborers.
Yeah.
It wasn't, and I called them slaves.
Yeah.
But I was thinking of indebted laborer prisoners things.
Yeah.
But it was so on the... there's a game out there called Hatred.
Yeah.
And it does it wrong. Like, it's like GTA in a way, except it does it wrong because it's too... GTA gives you the option to be good, I guess.
Yes, you have the option. You have the option to be less horrible.
Yeah.
I think is not the option to be good. You have the option to be less horrible.
Which I think is important. So I'm not sure why. Like, I'm just saying that... I think this is how you think about ideas, is you talk about them until you Malice and Book of the Fallen, they actually call it circling the idea. They say, let's circle the idea, and then they just talk about it until they come up with the answer. And I like that. That guy's brilliant. I don't blindly recommend stuff, so I'm not going to recommend it, but you should read it.
Blindly recommendation.
No, it's don't read it unless you can handle some heavier fantasy, some military fiction,
and a book that's title literally is Malice and Book of the Fallen.
Yeah, it's very sad, and it also has humor moments that could seem jarring.
Yeah.
But I think it's the best series ever written that I've read. There might be some better ones out there. I haven't read them.
Yeah.
If you have better ones, please leave them in the comments because I like reading. And if you say The Shadow of What Was Lost, then you're wrong. And if you say Dawn of Wonder, you're also wrong. Because I've been recommended those to me a lot, and I didn't like them. So, I'm not saying they're bad. I'm saying I didn't like them. See, I've gotten a lot kinder since the early podcasts. I'm not just...
You're wrong, you're an idiot, you're stupid, do something else with your life.
Yeah. And see, now you don't have body language here, so Connor was dead serious there. And you couldn't tell that. So, that's why talking in person's fed.
Yes.
Socrates, speaking of Socrates, he had an interesting argument about... He was against writing. He didn't like that newfangled technology that these kids were doing.
Yeah.
You know, we were talking about video games a lot, so I think we should talk about that stupid new millennial technology of writing. Yeah. Although it would have been like 300 year old, would have been, or 200 around his time.
Yeah.
Wouldn't have been millennials. Wouldn't have been a new millennium. Would have been a new century.
Yeah.
Maybe. He was kind of in the middle, I think. Yeah. Anyways, he didn't like writing, and I used to laugh about that. And be like, Socrates didn't like writing. Socrates didn't like writing. I looked up his argument. It was a good argument because he said writing. Well, first of all, there's the memory aspect. You're not memorizing stuff anymore; it's all written down. So if
no one knows phone numbers these days.
Yeah,
although no one knew phone numbers.
Well, I was thinking if I broke down on the side of the road without my cell phone, and there was like a payphone there, and I had a quarter, I'd be like, oh, I can't contact anyone. I could contact Dad. Actually, I memorized his, but that's it. I'd be like, oh,
yeah, exactly.
So Socrates said, like, you're lost without your book. It's the same thing of like martial arts versus learning how to use a sword, I guess. Like, you never lose if you lost your hands, you have bigger problems. But you can always fight if you know martial arts. Whereas if you know how to use a sword,
or
then,
shoot a gun, even.
Yeah, then you can't always fight. They're more effective in the moment if you have them, but if you don't have them, which is actually I've designed a RPG, which I might release someday. By design, I don't mean, I have this book idea. I mean, I wrote all the rules. It's just I'm editing them because I want them to be better.
When I'm done my book, I shall leave the Starbucks and rule the world.
Yes, I've already left the Starbucks, and I just have to edit it more. A lot of playtesting is happening right now. But there's this idea of you can make magic items that are way better but you make them by giving up your abilities. They're way better than the abilities, but if you lose the magic item, you're in trouble. Now the question is, how mean is your DM if they make you lose your magic item? But you can always get it back, is my idea. But you might have an awful DM who you never want to play with again.
Yeah. Find yourself a good DM.
Yeah. So that's one of his arguments, but that's his weaker one, actually. Yeah. His stronger one is if you read a book and you disagree with the author, you can't tell them.
Yeah.
You can't be like, you're stupid! No, it would be like, let's say you read Socrates' argument against writing, and you're like, I don't quite understand this section here. And then he's like, well, yeah, if I was alive, and you could talk to me, and then you'd get it, instead of Plato writing it down. Plato, stupid young kid, and I taught him everything he knows, and he still wrote all my teachings down instead of oral tradition, which would have forgotten about me, but...
However,
but you can't discuss it with him and get a deeper understanding, the both of you.
However, you can discuss this with us in the comments down below.
See, why do people say that?
Why do people say that?
Comments down below. Like,
down below.
Are people so not good at YouTube that they don't know where the comment section is? It's like, is it above the video? No, that's the URL bar. Is it to the right?
I think they're just referring to it's a different place to discuss it with them.
Yeah, if you have an input on that, feel free to discuss this with the comments in your notepad. Just write a comment down in Notepad, save it to your desktop, and we'll try to get back to you.
Yeah, no, I think it's just saying discuss it with us in a different space of interaction. This is the location of the space. Let's talk to it there. It's like, let's go meet at the bridge.
Right.
Let's talk
but
in
if you
the
say
comments.
the bridge, you don't have to say, let's go to the bridge to the south, if there's only one bridge, right?
Yeah, but
Like, where else? Let's discuss it in the comments on Reddit.
Let's discuss in the Westminster Bridge.
Yeah, but the comments, like the comments of this video.
Yeah.
I mean, like, let's discuss this in the comments on Gangnam Style.
Okay, yeah, let's do it.
Like, I think that's where we should do all our discussions for our comments. Actually,
I don't.
we should turn off our comments and only let the discussions be on the Gangnam Style comments.
No. No.
I'm never gonna check. So if you put it there, hopefully someone else does well, because I'm not looking.
Yeah.
Also, I'm not gonna respond to your comments unless you're one of the first people to comment, and then maybe I will. By that I mean like the first 100 people.
Yeah. First people ever to comment.
Like right now, I'm modding, and I respond to every single comment on my mods. But if my mods suddenly had 10 times the amount of people leaving comments, I'd be having to answer a comment about every day, and then that would get a bit annoying. But
that's why you make frequently asked questions.
But once every week or so is or every couple of weeks, I feel kind of good because like, hey, you left a comment. And I'm not saying that leaving comments is annoying. I'm saying me having to answer all of them would become difficult. Not that this is my podcast, anyways. It is mine, and Connor's the guest speaker, but secretly it's his.
Sure.
Actually, we have no guest speakers today.
Yeah.
We're just both in the alternate universe right now.
Where our hair is nicer.
Yes, but everything else is the same. Actually, no, our hair doesn't look nicer.
Yeah, it does.
No, but see, everything else is the same, so I have to act as if my hair isn't nicer, even though it is, but it isn't because I'm not in that universe, even though I am, but everything else is identical, so it's like we're not in that universe. Even though we are, but we're not.
Yes.
Kind of complicated.
Yes. So.
You had another topic?
Yeah, I think might wrap up with this one.
Okay, we'll wrap up with this final topic?
Yes.
All right.
So, I watched the Clone Wars.
Okay.
The whole series.
You want me to discuss Star Wars?
No, it's the idea.
I don't know Star Wars. I know there's guys in white that are bad, but sometimes they're good.
Yeah.
And I know there's guys in black that are bad, but sometimes good. And I know that there's lightsabers tell you stuff, but they don't.
I'm going to give you all the facts so other people who don't know stuff about Clone Wars.
Okay. As long as there's not too many. You got 3 facts.
3 facts.
3 facts.
All right. So, clones and Clone Wars are soldiers that are humans that are cloned, though, to fight in a war.
Okay.
So they have no choice in this whole thing. They're just made for this war.
Okay. Fact number 1. Clones have no choice but to fight.
Now, the clones are fighting droids, which are robots with AI. They're really stupid, but they still actually have artificial intelligence, and they can have their own individual thoughts. They can go, oh no, and then get blown up.
So, fact 1. Clones are made for a war, forced to fight. Fact 2. Droids are sentient, but stupid.
Sometimes things are just really annoying. But hey, that's life. Anyways, you are listening to The Fool and the Philosopher.
Alright.
Welcome back to The Fool and the Philosopher. We crashed and then it took me 2 days to fix it.
Yes.
But we're back.
Yes, we're back.
And I'm a genius.
Yes. Although it'll be about a minute from the looks of it for you.
Or less.
Yes.
So, point 3 of Star Wars we were getting to. So,
yes.
Point 1 was that the clones were... I don't know.
The clones are people that are grown for just fighting in war.
Point 2, the droids are sentient. And point 3, the humans that create both don't care about either.
Yeah, both sides don't care about either. They're just means to an end for war.
Yeah. So it's basically like Chessmen on Mars or something.
Yeah. Except on much larger scale.
Yeah.
However, one of the things that the Clone Wars really addressed was it would go into the personal stories of the clones. Like the Clone Fives is one of them. And it's like, oh, this is how he got trained, and then this is how he lost all the comrades he trained with. This is how they died, and then it goes throughout the story and talks about him as a character. Or there's an evil Jedi at one point who thinks his clones as super disposable, and he tries to kill as many as he can while he's using them to fight. And he has really brutal, unpleasant tactics, and then the clones turn on him because they've had enough of that. But they follow their orders exactly, sort of thing. And then the clones are just a big, spoilers if you haven't seen Star Wars. But the clones are just a big orchestrated plan for Palpatine to kill all the Jedi. So
What?
while they're embroiled in war, he can execute Order 66, which is they're forced to obey that order by inhibitor chips planted in their brains. That makes them kill all the Jedi that they're friends with without any remorse, and they just do it. And actually, that's sort of how it addresses the end of 5's story, the one clone, is he figures out that there's these inhibitor chips, and he gets his removed. And then everyone sees him as this rabid dog who needs to be put down, because it's like, oh, big conspiracy. It's like, no, those things are just to stop clones' aggression, because Jango Fett, the person they're cloned from, was really aggressive. So my thought or question, this also applies to the droids, because they're really dumb, but they still have sentiency, and they're seen as disposable, or even just like service droids, like, oh, you're just a dumb astromech, and it just repairs a plane. But these things are obviously shown sentient. So my question is, what generates that thought, or I'm just quandering, like, these people seeing clones as disposable, even though they're like humans like you or me. Maybe they do age like twice as fast as normal humans.
Yeah.
But they're just these people, or even the droids. Like, we built these droids, we gave them sentience, and we can have them scrapped or killed or whatnot and not bat an eye at them.
Right, so...
Like, the Jedis are like, oh, we lost a bunch of clones, and they're like, oh, we lost them. But then whenever a Jedi dies or a student dies, they're like, oh, this is really sad.
Yeah.
And there's so many clones dying in that whole series, and they're just... Like, that's a little more than the droids, because droids can, like, have their brains re-uploaded and stuff, and make...
So you're asking why in-universe they don't care, or why out-of-universe we don't care?
Well, both, I guess.
I think, like, out-of-universe is because they all look the same. Mm-hmm. Like, they're all wearing helmets, so you never see their face, and that just dehumanizes them instantly, which is really common in, like, all movies. The bad guards will have, like, face guards.
Yeah, well, these guys are good guys, though, and I think that's, like, a theme that Star Wars does try to show, is there's... I guess making up for the movies, the Clone Wars cartoon is trying to show these are clones, these are people, this is what went on in their life.
Well, do you care about them in the cartoons?
Yeah, I do.
Okay, so then it seems like out of the universe people do care about them once you get to know them.
Yeah, but also just the horror of Order 66, like the thought of that thing. Because, like, that was a ridiculous plan by Palpatine, because he set up the whole war between the droids and clones.
Yeah.
And it's just a whole thing to get every single Jedi into a position where they'd be constantly fighting, so that he could then kill all of them using an order. Like, it's a massive gambit. But just the horror of, like, these guys are really good friends with the Jedi, and then they have to kill all of them.
Yeah, that'd be pretty awful.
Because you may have noticed that in the rest of Star Wars, the clones aren't used anymore.
Nope.
Because they went insane after that.
Oh, okay.
And a lot...
They were upset.
Yeah, a lot of them retired. They stopped making them because they weren't...
Weren't they upset in the new Star Wars?
Those aren't clones in the new Star Wars. Those are just soldiers, citizens of the Empire.
You've givered the sound by moving the microphone.
Moved it closer, yeah. But those are just citizens. So there is no clones anymore. Stormtroopers are just citizens that get trained really well. But clone troopers are better trained than them.
So what's the anecdote for?
The idea behind this? Or?
Yeah.
Well, I'm just curious what you think of that. Or the whole...
just in general, or like...
Yeah.
Well, it sounds bad. It's made to be bad. Mm-hmm. Like, in which dimension do I think of it? Like...
Well, I guess another question. So these clones are all...
Like, do you want me to call on some area of expertise I have? Or
oh, no.
an outsider's opinion?
I just wanted your opinion on it. One of the things...
Or, like, do you think my opinion would be different from the majority of Star Wars viewers?
I don't know.
Because I haven't seen it, for one thing.
It's more the quandary. I'm not exactly sure the question behind it. But one thing, like, with the dehumanizing of the guards, so in Star Wars with the Stormtroopers, those guys are faceless. But those aren't even clones. Those are citizens of the Empire who are doing their best to make it by. And they're serving. It's not forced service.
I think...
And then the First Order... I think the First Order is actually one of the worst, which is they steal people and brainwash them. But then again, the clone troopers are pretty bad because they're made for war and have no choice. It's like what they're put into.
I think in fiction you'll see a lot where a throwaway term to there's a lot of moments, like, they're called cold openings, where you want to show that a hero's cool, but the story has to be about a time that they had a difficulty or a struggle. So you want to open a Batman cartoon with Batman beating up 20 thugs easily, so people don't watch Batman and think he loses like every fight he's in, because first time he fights Killer Croc or something, he's gonna lose.
5 men doomed to die to show its prowess.
Yeah, something like that. And so I think a very common thing is the disposable guard or bandits. And I think the guard one is interesting because they almost always have no personality. It's like, okay, we've got to take down 3 guards, and they're just these. They might even have a face, but they're so disposable.
Yeah, well, the interesting thing about that is in the Clone Wars, like even with the droids, which are they're even more disposable, I think, than clone troopers and whatnot. But they'll be standing there talking to each other, like, oh, did you remember what this happened? Oh, sorry, my memory banks aren't that big. I need to get an upgrade. Like, they'll actually have this, like, cute little conversation, and then Jedi will cut their heads off.
In games like Halo, you see that as well, where if you, or an Army of Two is another one, where if you just sit around and listen to the thugs that you have to take down, they'll say, like, funny things. Or,
well, even in Skyrim, they do that, actually.
Or in Hitman, there's a guy you have to take down, and he's talking, and he'll be like, oh, I just got news from the doctor. They have cancer. And the other guy said, oh, that's sorry, man. And then you go in and take them all down. It's awful.
Yeah.
But I don't know why it is, but guards super shown that way. And I think another, like, dehumanizing your slaves sort of thing. Like,
well, the clones are basically slaves of war.
Yeah. And I think there must be something about people where we can very easily create groups. Because, well, otherwise it's difficult to have enemies. And I think the ability to form enemies is useful because then you can defend your resources so you don't just starve because you gave everything away to all these people that are as equal as you. And also it prevents disease, I would think, if you can easily identify people that are different from you. But when they look the same, like the clones, for example, I think there must be something other than just looks where you can just compartmentalize things.
Well,
so I think you could create like in India, they have like the caste, they used to have the caste system. So I think you can create a lower caste from anything as long as you can say us and them. And so I think that the clones are just them.
There's a very interesting thing about the clones, actually, which is they try to, individualize themselves. So like saying Clone Trooper 5s, he has a tattoo of the letter 5 on his head. And he has that name because his number, because they don't actually have names, they have numbers. His designation was 5555555.
Yeah.
And so he's 5s. And then there's Commander Cody and Captain Rex and Captain Wolf. And they will get tattoos or cut their hair differently or put customization on their armor, trying to make themselves look unique.
Yeah.
And then the stormtroopers aren't allowed to do stuff like that, but that's underneath their masks, they have different faces.
So a large theme of the thing is then individualizing the faceless guards from the other series.
Yeah, that's a huge thing I feel about the clone troopers, is trying to give them a voice or something. Like more than just being, and even the droids, like trying to give the droids and these service bots, like making them more characters.
Oh yeah, you've made that point a few times now. That's basically what seems to be what it's about exactly. Yeah.
They do it so well though. They feel so downtrodden. What happens to them? Just like the disregard, like this is your designation. You don't have a name. You're just a clone. We can just kill you. We made you. We can destroy you. Sort of.
Yeah.
So if we ever make artificial intelligence, I guess, could put something up there for a question, at what point are we allowed to turn off the artificial intelligence?
Yeah, it's interesting. Like if you have a computer and you turn it off and on and you're like, that's a bit weird. And the droids as well. Like, well, they're stupid, but they're sentient at that point, it sounds like what you're talking about. Yeah. So it could raise the question of, do we just view them as a lesser form of human that we can treat as our... Well, it's funny because the word robot is a Slavic term for like farmer, basically.
Yeah.
I think it's Slavic, or maybe it's Greek, I can't remember. I think it might be Greek, actually. I'm not sure. Or Romanian. I don't know anymore. Romanian? Maybe it's Romanian. But anyways, robot means like serf, basically.
Yeah.
And then, so we might come full circle to where robots are, because the word robot came from like slave, because it was based on slaves, and then it might go all the way back to robots becoming sort of slaves, and then a liberation. Or we might, because of a long history, we might completely skip that step. like movies. I think that's one of the strengths of science fiction is movies like Star Wars will make
Yeah.
us.
Well,
If we make a bunch of clones of ourselves and droids, we won't do it.
Yeah, well, that's one thing I was thinking of with the droids, is might actually help us realize there is so many things, like even the Matrix, having these robots that betrayed humanity, or the Cylons from Battlestar Galactica.
Yeah.
Like, we downtrodden our robot servants too much, and then they got
Yeah.
a little more sentient and figured out how to
So the
break
lesson
free.
there is we have to treat the robots like the Romans treated their slaves, which is to have like holidays for them and have like a fun, I'm the slave and you're the master day, and here's slave day where you get parties and tons of food so that they don't rebel.
Or just program them so they are happy to do their service.
Or actually just treat them like equals.
Yeah.
That seems like a lot of work.
Well, Terry Pratchett's golems, they earned money so they could own themselves.
Yeah.
Because one of them was set free. And that's like, what do you do with this money? Free ourselves?
Yeah.
What do you do after that? Doesn't matter.
Yeah, so I'm not sure what you're reaching for here. It's interesting.
Well, more
ideas
just talking about it.
Yeah,
You just getting that thought out
you
there.
just thought it was
It's interesting, and not everyone's seen the Clone
obviously
Wars.
the Clone Wars affected you somehow. And
Yeah, it's affected me. It made me feel like just one line from the Malazan book, The Fallen, that book we keep going on about, which is we try not to step on ants, but we do it anyways.
And how's it?
Well, I'm talking about the droids,
Yeah.
how they're so killed. Like, you could view the droids as ants. Like, hey, if we can have some respect for droids, maybe we have a favorite droid. But in the grand scheme of things, they're ants, and we will just step on them. And
Well, it sounds like they have a lot of. Oh, I see. But it's even knowing that they have these personalities and
Yeah.
everything, they're still just stupid robots, kind of thing.
yeah,
Yeah.
like it's really, really explored in the last, not even the last season of the Clone Wars, but the bonus episodes called the Lost Missions.
Right.
Like, they purely focus on that, I feel.
Well, it sounds like that's all they talk about from what you've been going on about.
Oh, there's a lot to it, Clone
So-
Wars.
I guess we have a recommendation for this TV series if you
Yeah.
like cartoons about
Really?
children's franchises.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I don't want to.
With really good 3D animation. It's some of the best that's out there, I think, especially for its time frame.
Right, yeah. Good TV show if you like TV. Check it out, I guess.
Yeah,
'Cause apparently he liked it.
I'll have to explore the idea more what my question is. I'm more just...
He wanted to dedicate 15 minutes
want
to
to talk-
talking about.
Yeah, I wanted to talk about it. I wasn't sure where I was going, but I wanted to talk about it in some semblance.
No,
I
no.
guess.
That's,
And I mean, that's one thing we can talk about. Like, you talk about the roguelikes, like, you just talk about a roguelike.
Yeah.
And I watch a lot of videos and stuff, and
yeah.
so...
I don't find. Yeah.
You don't like talking about...
I don't like talking about movies. No, the only so this is my stack, right? So first off, at the top of this is like the one I like the most is hearing about video games, but I don't like that. And then comes hearing about movies. No, sorry, no. Then comes talking about movies, and then comes hearing about movies. So I'm
Well, other people might be different.
Yeah.
I mean, it's your conversational thing, and I try to make it interesting to you. I wasn't just trying to tell you about it. I was trying to tell you more about the ideas of it.
yeah. No. I've just it's not for me, but it's if you like that.
Yep, and if
Then
we
please tell us in the comments on PSY's videos, and to the left or the right or whichever direction you choose to go. And
yeah,
Star Wars is good for your health.
yeah,
But no, I do like the interesting question of like reminds me a lot of the Romans for some reason. Like there's a lot of stuff you can link back to the Romans.
yeah. Well,
And I like history, and I'm sure there's some people that are totally bored by history and like, can we talk about Star Wars again?
well, Star Wars and the Romans are incredibly linked
Yeah.
too.
I mean, they both have Emperor Palpatine for one thing. Like famously, the Sith ruled the Roman Empire for hundreds of years.
Yeah. Well, how do you,
I don't want to
how do you?
rain on your thing, your Star Warsy thing, because there were some interesting ideas in there that I liked, and thank you for sharing.
I have a question.
Yes.
How do you feel about thanking viewers? Some people I know hate that. I'm wondering if you're one of them.
Thanking viewers.
Yeah, thanking them for watching. Thanking them for like dedicating
If you
that.
watch, something's wrong with you because this is audio. And
Okay, thanking them for listening or whatnot then.
you should like do something better with your life.
And how do you
Like
feel?
thanking them, like thank you for listening. Kind
Yeah,
of thing.
thank you for devoting your time to viewing our creation.
I suppose it depends if they liked it or not.
Mm.
Like if I hand my book off to someone and said this was terrible, would I say thank you? I don't think so. If they said, if you change this and this and this, it would be less terrible,
Well,
then I might say thank you. And if they said this was good, if someone just said this is good, I'm not sure if I'd say thank you either. I guess I would say thank you because it's a compliment and that's what you do. So, do we consider them listening
I think
to
it's
us
complimentary
a compliment?
for someone getting to the end of this.
I think so.
Yeah. So, thank you for watching.
Yeah, listening.
Listening.
Don't watch. I don't thank you for watching. I hate you for watching.
I might
No, I don't hate you.
I
You're
might put
okay.
animations in there at like random points.
Just to... No, don't do that. That's awful. Then people will feel like they have to find them.
And then they'll just search for them instead of listening.
Yeah, and their lives will just be miserable.
Yeah, no.
Or maybe you could, and then people can like list them and it could be a treasure hunt.
Yeah, I don't think I will.
All right. Well, ciao.
Bye.